Well, blessings, everybody. We're going to begin in Hosea chapter 8 today, verse 7, in the balance of the chapter. Israel was about to reap a whirlwind. And that's a curious little phrase right there. It can be interpreted in a couple of ways, but it means the same thing. Normally, you sow seed in the ground and you reap the grain, right? And sowing the wind, or sowing seed in the wind is foolish. And that's literally what they had been doing in their idolatry. That's literally what they'd been doing in worshiping God in the way that they wanted to, in the way of Cain, shall we say, rather than in the way that God had designed for them. But there's another whirlwind that was coming, and that's the enemy that's coming, much like we would have a tornado or something. And then the Lord described that literally seed would grow forth, but bare stalks without head. There wouldn't be any grain, and if there was a yield to it, that a stranger was going to swallow it up. And then he just declares, God says, Israel is swallowed up. And he tells them this, to now Israel is among the nations. Okay, Israel is going to be consumed among the nations. And Israel is like a vessel in which no one delights. Israel is like a wild donkey, stubborn. He says Israel's gone to Assyria. Even though they had hired allies and lovers, they'd actually hired Assyria. God calls them a lover. But now they've turned on them. And God says, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to gather them up, and that they will now begin to diminish. Ephraim had multiplied altars of sin. They'd created altars all over the countryside to worship God in their pagan way and to worship the pagan gods, and they'd simply become altars of sinning. And God said, I wrote for you 10,000 precepts of my law. That doesn't mean there's 10,000 portions. He's just using a little hyperbole right here. He said, I gave you my law. I gave you so much about the details of it. And he said, but they regarded it as a strange thing. And God says, as for the sacrificial gifts, I don't take any delight in them anymore. It's just meat to me now. But I will remember the iniquity, and I'm going to punish you. He says, you're going to return to Egypt. And that's not a literal return. It's a picture of bondage and slavery. There were a few that actually did get captured and taken down physically to Egypt. But what he was saying is, you're going back to slavery, just like you were in Egypt. But they went to Assyria. Israel had forgotten their maker, and they placed their trust in palaces. They placed their trust in their multiplied, fortified cities. And God said this, fire is going to come. He's going to consume the cities and those palatial dwellings. Here's the word for us. Don't trust in anything other than the God. Worship God and worship Him the way that He has designed. Again, I'm Dale from the Precept classes in Cullman, Alabama, and I'll see you again next time. Goodbye.